Welcome to the Lifestyle Builders Podcast, Show 30. In our last episode, we talked about money in your business. In today's episode, we're chatting with Christi Bender on how to stop losing money and start using tax strategy.
But any one of those levels, if you were to be able to have a relationship with somebody that would refer work to you, and you knew that year after year, that person was going to refer $8,000, $10,000, or $20,000 of more work to you, you would love that person.
Yeah.
Now, if they said they're just going to give you the money and you have to do like 1 extra hour of paperwork a week and you're going to get $8, $10, $15, $20,000 a year every year, how many people would be like, I am so in?
Pretty much everybody should be raising their hand.
Until...
That's what I do.
All right, you guys, before we jump in, a little bit more about Christi. Christi is a CPA and a CTM, a certified tax master. She's not your normal tax accountant or bean counter. She's adventurous, curious, passionate and bold, and an expert in individual and business taxes. She recognizes that numbers, data entry, and forms are only one part of a larger money picture. As a CPA, she asks her clients questions about who they are, what's going on in their lives, how they spend and save money, and how they think about money. That often means cutting to the chase with honesty, and Christi brings her own brand of humor to conversations that are sometimes sensitive in nature. She enjoys hiking, golfing, scuba diving, fishing, horseback riding, and travel. She resides in Phoenixville, PA with her husband and their 2 fur babies. I feel like it's a very accurate bio for Christi.
Absolutely. You know, when we first met Christi, what I was amazed about was she actually vacations like
a million times a year.
Yeah, like 2 months out of the year or something. It's crazy. And the places she goes are awesome. She's got like pictures in her office of just all the awesome
fishing in the Amazon. Crazy stuff.
But yeah, so this was an awesome episode, and we were so excited to bring Christi on because, as this says, like, you call her what? Not your average.
Not your average CPA.
Yeah, and you guys will see that Christi has personality. I mean, she's
lots of energy. She's very passionate, as her bio said.
Yeah, and she's very smart. And a lot of what we get into in this episode is really talking about how taxes aren't just this necessary evil, but if you use strategy and planning and, you know, work with a professional, how it can actually make you a lot more money.
Yeah.
And we get into a lot of really good topics around getting in your zone, and even
instead of being reactive, you are proactive with your money.
Yeah, and as she said, and it's a big thing that we talk about, is like, it's not just your business, it's your life as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was a lot of gold nuggets in here, and she even starts sharing some strategies with like tax reform and what's going on, and how we as business owners can really get the most out of that.
Yeah, plus she drops multiple amazing quotes in here and some pretty cool analogies as well. Her and Tom, I call them my 2 analogy people because they're always coming up with good analogies.
Yeah, I never thought we'd be talking about horses, but here we are.
All right, you guys, with that, we'll let you dive into the episode. All right, you guys, welcome back to the show. Super pumped for our guest today. Christi, what's going on?
Oh my God, this is going to be so much fun because because you guys bring out like the crazy part of me sometimes.
We're counting on it.
You're counting on it. Okay. I think what I really want to talk about is that we're now in 2018 and tax reform hit, and everybody sees that 3-letter word and they just shut down and become the most boring people on the planet. And I kind of go, oh man, they just put $1,000 bills on the trees outside.
Nice.
Like, they just changed the code. And when they changed the code, that means we have new ammunition to use against the IRS. So just like anybody who's married and likes to use their spouse's words against them at some point to make their own argument solid, I like to use the IRS's code against them to keep my client's money in my client's pocket.
That's beautiful.
So,
I'm sure they love that.
Yeah. And it's so much fun when I can sit down and I look at a new client's tax return and I'm like, well, do you have this, or do you know that, or I see this? And they go, well, yeah. And I go, well, you paid $5,000 too much in tax last year. And they're like, what? What? But I answered all the questions on TurboTax the right way. TurboTax, LegalZoom, not a brain in sight, not going to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and this is part of what I love about talking to you because, I mean, so many people, when they think about taxes or they think about accounting, it's like, this is a necessary evil in my business. It's boring, and it's not going to help me strategically to grow my business. Whereas I know every time we talk, you're like, you know, what's your phrase line about tiny little numbers and boxes?
Oh yeah, I define a tax return as stupid little numbers and stupid little boxes about stuff that already happened. Do we care? I so don't care.
Yeah, and to your point, if we're thinking about like it's just a necessary evil and I'm just going to give it to my accountant, meet once a year, and that's it. Whereas like a lot of what you always talk about is how it can actually be strategic. And by knowing this stuff and planning ahead, you can actually like drive a lot of growth in your business and actually make a lot more money and pay a lot less to the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. And if let's say that we have a business owner and after their expenses, they're bringing home from their business $80,000. So they've proven that they know what they're doing. They've proven they can sell it. They've got some kind of loyal following. This probably wasn't a one-time wonder. And now they're like in search of that elusive six figures.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, if they've hit the six figures and they're at the 120 mark, they're trying to get to 150. If they're 150, they're trying to get to 200. Like there's always a next step.
Yep.
But any one of those levels, if you were to be able to have a relationship with somebody that would refer work to you, and you knew that year after year, that person was going to refer $8,000, $10,000, or $20,000 of more work to you, you would love that person.
Yeah.
Now, if they said they're just going to give you the money and you have to do like 1 extra hour of paperwork a week and you're going to get $8, $10, $15, $20,000 a year every year, how many people would be like, I am so in?
Pretty much everybody should be raising their hand.
Until
That's what I do. So that's what I do. They come in and I'm like, oh, well, if we put these systems in place and we strategize this and we look at the timing and you have to dot the I's and cross the T's and yes, you've got your hour paperwork a week. And I can just hand you all thousands of dollars. No more client finding, no more marketing, no more Facebook ads. This is just like free freaking money.
Yeah.
And that's such an excellent reframe of how to look at this, because I think if people just start looking at this process that way, it's going to change a little bit of their attitude towards it and their openness to being like, oh, this is actually like an asset to my business, not that necessary evil.
Well, and we chatted about it. I love the framing that you gave it, where normal tax returns and kind of what everyone sees taxes as is historical. So everyone is reactive to all those things that already happened. They say, oh, well, we can't change it now. It's already happened, blah, blah, blah. But they don't realize that the tax strategy piece of it is proactive. Like you said, it like it's looking into a crystal ball and saying, here's all these things that we can do to change the outcome of the future for your business. And it's such a powerful thing, but so many people don't understand that it's there, or they don't think that they need it or that it matters. And we just need to get the word out there that it totally does. And you can do a little bit of tax strategy up front and your business will be better off for it and you will be better off for it in the long run.
Yeah, I think there's, we do things or don't do things largely out of this whole conception of fear or trouble. This is too complicated. I'm afraid. I'm going to feel vulnerable and helpless. Entrepreneurs, if they've been in business more than like 3 months, they get confidence is everything. You can know everything about it, but if you're not confident, you won't move.
Yeah.
You can know nothing about it, and if you are confident, you won't be in business long. So taxes have this, and it's rightfully earned. It's big, it's complicated, it's convoluted, it doesn't always make sense. Some guy in Washington said, hey, I think we should put a phase-out limit on this number, and voila, it just doesn't make any sense. It's crazy. That was one reason I didn't want to get into it in the beginning. And that's why you can't just use, if you want to leverage it, you can't just use TurboTax. You can't just go to H&R Block where the guy went through his 16-week course and learned how to put the right numbers in the right boxes on their proprietary software. And you can't fix it after the fact.
Yeah.
It's like saying, well, you raised your kids and you spoiled them rotten until they were 5. And then at 5 years old, you said, we're going to start having some chores.
Yeah,
good luck with that. Like, if you didn't start at 2 years old, like, put your toys away, you've already sunk the ship. So if you wait till you walk into your tax accountant in February or March, because don't even talk to one in April, we are stupid, we're cranky, and we do not want to see you in April. Let's just put that right out there. There's not much I can do retroactive other than say we can put money in a SEP, you can still fund your HSA, and if the rules allow, you can throw some money at an IRA.
Yep.
That's like all I can do after the fact. But we're sitting here right now, the beginning of May. There's essentially 8 months ahead of us. That means that if somebody in the next 60 days took action to get some documents in place, to put in some weekly procedures or monthly procedures, to start crossing some T's and dotting some I's, they can take expenses that right now are not deductible and deduct them. So I just had a conversation last night. One of my engineering clients, he's a sole prop. He's got a son who just started college, studying engineering like dad, wants to work for him in the summer. They have tuition bills. He's the only employee. So you can put into place an employee benefit plan that allows you to pay $5,250 of an employee's education expenses as a deductible employee expense on your tax return.
So smart.
You can't do it next February.
No.
And he said the payment's due May 9th. I was like, well, thanks for all the heads up.
Yeah. Well, we talked about, we have an entrepreneur friend, they started paying their kids out of the business. So we talked about that because ours next year will be old enough for us to start doing that and to do kid-specific tasks within the business and to be able to pay them and put it in a special account. And I think so many people don't know that. I didn't even know that until he talked to the friend of ours, and I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and depending on your entity structure, if you're a single member LLC, and your kid is under 18, you don't even have to pay the Social Security and Medicare match or have it withheld from their paycheck. You will get a letter from the IRS every single time. You just have to send in a form letter, like you just do it. It just happens. But that saves you, if you're just going to pay them $5,000 a year, that saves you $765 in Social Security and Medicare taxes right there. And one of the funniest things is people will say, well, that's not that much. Now, if you launched a program for $765 a year, people won't hit the button because they go, that's too much. But if I say I can save you $765, they're like, well, that's not that much. Disconnect? Can we say
a little
disconnect?
bit? Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, and like we've just scratched the surface, but I mean, you just brought up a couple specific cases that the normal person wouldn't know. And what's interesting is, so we're in the process of writing our first book. And originally we were going to self-publish it and try to do everything ourselves. And now we're actually working with a publisher. And we just had like an hour-long call the other day. And they walked us through the process and all these ins and outs that they know that we would have no idea. And they're like, look, this is the strategy we're going to use because if we do this first, then you're going to have this stuff. And then when we launch it, we're going to have these things. And we just kept looking at each other like,
oh my gosh,
we would have known none of this. And this is what you get for working with experts rather than trying to go it alone. And like one of the things I always look at is, okay, wealthy people that are doing well and kind of where we want to be, what are some of their habits? And one of the things that I always find is like, you know, initially when you start your business, you want to make money, but you get to a certain point where you're like, I'm paying so much in taxes, I got to start saving.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I always find is that if you can start with that mindset from the second you start your business and get some of those habits and get some of those routines in around your finances, one, it's going to be so much easier as you scale up, but two, you're going to start getting that money at every level coming back. So one of the questions I have for you is, what would you say some of those key routines are that any entrepreneur can start putting in place regardless of where their business is at to be kind of healthier around this space?
Okay, so the number one, shout it from the rooftops. I will slap you silly if you don't do it. Like, get a separate business bank account.
Yes. Oh my Lord. Yes.
Stop co-mingling. Stop it. Stop it.
I'm just going to
People
quote
do
that from today.
Well, I forgot.
Stop mingling.
And I'm like, well, did you leave the house without your pants on? Like, did you forget? Like, no, you didn't forget. You got lazy. That's what you did. It's called lazy and lousy thinking. You didn't forget.
Yeah.
So you get a debit card for your business account, a debit card for your personal account, a credit card for your business account, a credit card for your personal account. You've got separate bank accounts. Half the world doesn't even know what their bank looks like anymore. They do everything through, like, you know, this little gadget.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I still go to a bank because I'm old, but half the world doesn't, right? They take pictures of checks. They do everything through online banking. They haven't signed a check in like a decade. So this idea that, well, a separate bank account's too hard to manage. Like, no.
We went to a bank account and they thought we were nuts because we opened like 15 accounts.
Oh yeah, we have
because we did profit first in 3 different businesses.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say. I'm just getting ready to, you know, now that tax season's over and I can go, all right, where am I growing? What's the big new thing for this year? And I'm seriously investigating the whole profit first thing. And as I started to look at it, I realized that even though I don't do it exactly like they do, when they talk about this is not a bookkeeping system, that this is a behavior system. And that's what you were just saying. Like, what are the things we need to do? You need to use your own behavior for your benefit, not against yourself.
Yep.
So all of us entrepreneurs know it's a mind game. You trick yourself into starting the project, and I only have to do 15 minutes. I mean, I work on my desk. I have a freaking 30-minute blocks. This thing gets stuck, and I race it. Like, I go, what? I think I can get this done in 30 minutes. And the question is always, what does done and done well look like? Like, how will I know just to say, well, I'm going to work on this? No. What does done and done well look like at 30 minutes? And then I put my head down. I have to have pressure. Hate that about myself. Lots of entrepreneurs are like that.
Yep.
If there's not some kind of pressure, we don't perform. So I put false pressure on myself with a clock. Financially, I have my CPA business bank account. All my money comes in. I pay all my expenses out of it because I'm not yet on the full profit first thing. But I have a separate tax account to hide that money from me. Like, I'll think it's mine. So dangerous. I got married again late in life, and my husband and I plan to stay married, so we don't share our money. So
we're dying. We've shared money since like college.
Right, but you got together at the very beginning. When you get married at 50.
We grew together, so it worked for us.
Right. When you get married later in life, though, there's something about, I am so not paying for that stupid hobby of yours. So, you know, we have a joint business account because we're business partners, but there's like my side of the practice and his side of the practice. We have a joint house account, but I have the account that's my personal and he has the account that's his personal. And then I have the money market, nuts fund. So when I get done tax season, I'm obviously sitting on a pile of money. I just made half of my annual revenue in 15 weeks. Now, if I see all that money there, oh, it's so good for the stores around me. So not good for me. And so I divvy it up, right? I go, how much do I need to put towards the mortgage for 6 months? Move it. How much is my taxes? Move it. How much is my side of the business expense? Move it. And then I look at my account and I go, oh crap, I'm broke. And it's just like the clock, right? The money just went down like the clock. I have 10 minutes left on my 30 minutes. What do I need to do, lickety split, to make this 30 minutes count? So it puts that pressure on me, puts a little gas in my tank, gets me like, oh nuts, better go make some more money. But on the expense side of it, it makes me think about, what am I going to press that buy now button on?
Yep.
And that's where the profit first thing comes in. So if you don't have a separate business bank account and you have everything in one, back to our commingled funds, and we have one spouse that's the entrepreneur and one's out there like got the employee benefits, got the nice steady paycheck, yeah, it keeps bringing the money into the account.
Yeah.
And if it's all in one, the entrepreneur goes, look, we have money.
Let me go buy a course and a program and all.
Yeah, you know, bank balance accounting. But the other spouse goes, how come you don't put anything in the account? Like, yo, dude. And now we have marital discord and we have all kinds of problems. And I can 100% guarantee, I mean, I would stake my next vacation on it. And you know that is saying a lot.
I was going to say, that's sacred.
Because me and my vacations are precious. That if you're not completely separated in your business expenses, they're not all getting to your tax return.
Yep.
And to the extent that you're working with a coach, he's not getting the complete set of numbers to look at your trends, to look at your allocations. And you may have most of it. You may have 90% of it.
Yeah.
But that 10% could be, it's probably not going to change overall a ton of things, depending on how big your business is, of course. But a lot of times that's the mindset shift. If you're good 90% of the time, and there's 10% of the stuff that never hits that account, is that where you're walking an integrity line and you're not sure? Is that where you're just not finishing up the last details, which is ultimately going to bite you in your business? Is that what you're hiding from yourself because you're living in denial? Like, there's a reason that's there. And that behavioral component will come out.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it
say,
will.
what's so interesting about what you just said, I mean, I took out the words trick, hide, pressure, but these are so important as entrepreneurs because there's so many things coming at us. And like what I think we've found it over the years, and then especially recently, what I've found is that we all have to kind of figure out, what do we got to do to kind of get in our zone and to take all these other things off the table? And, you know, by setting up, like you said, if you're looking at, you know, a large chunk of money, you think you have it all. But when you start setting up routines or doing those things, then it kind of gets back to the reality of what it is and helps you focus in a lot more. But a lot of times entrepreneurs are not really looking and saying, how do I optimize every piece of this? And then how do I get rid of all kind of the distractions or noise so that I can focus on the right things? So it was interesting, just as you were describing that, how setting all of this up actually not only helps you financially, but it actually makes your job as an entrepreneur, I think, a lot easier.
Well, and I pulled out that word you had, which was denial. And I think when it comes to business finances, there are so many entrepreneurs that are in denial, and they just keep working that way. They keep buying courses. They keep buying programs. They're not making a lot of money in their business, but because they're not tracking their finances, they can keep being in denial about that because they know that some money's coming in and some money's going out, but they never have to actually look at what those numbers are. And when we come across people that have been in their business for a while and they're not seeing results, the first question we ask is, well, what are your numbers look like? How much is coming in, and, you know, what are your expenses? And they're like, oh, well, I'm not really sure because I don't track that. And we have to push past that fear a little bit because, you know, tough love, you need to know what that is. So that is always our first homework task when we work with someone, and say, go back and figure out those numbers and then come back and let's talk about them. And it's funny, Tom had a call the other day and he's like, yeah, we did that. And they came back with their numbers and they actually breathed a sigh of relief because it was
sometimes it happens
to do that. But when you do, you know where you are. So even if it doesn't look like you'd hoped, you have a starting point, you have a foundation, and your brain can now focus on how to change that and how to make it look like you want it to.
Yeah, when I sit across my desk from my clients and they kind of come in and they're like, well, I don't know, and they have a million reasons. One of my standard go-to lines is, you do know that when you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time.
I have so many quotes from this episode already.
And it's just like, you might find out that this is not the answer you wanted to have, but if you don't have the answer, you can't pivot.
Yep.
So once upon a time, I trained horses professionally. This accounted for a lot of concussions, which now enables me to think out of the box, unlike most accountants. So this is how I spin that one. And I used to say when I would train a horse, which is much like training an entrepreneur, it's me in the ring with the horse in the ring. I'm not touching him, no equipment on anybody. My first job is make him move. Move. Unless I'm trying to teach him to stand still, I can't train him anything if I can't get him to move.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most entrepreneurs, unless they're really high fact finders and totally caught in analysis paralysis, will move. Okay, so we got that part done. Step number 2 with my horse is I want to be able to go which direction? This way or this way? You figure that out. Good next step. After that, you want to go what speed? Now I'm moving in the right direction at the right speed. Now I can work on things like impulsion and balance and suppleness. And then we start having like this conversation. I haven't even touched the horse and I can do all this stuff. And it's so much like that with entrepreneurs. They need somebody to get them in a ring and go, run that way. Slow down, hold on.
And let's stop, pivot, and go back
yeah,
in.
Right. Like, can we have a 30,000 foot view for just a minute now? And no, now we need you down and in the details. Now we need you to come up and take a look. And it's so funny that horses are really pretty stupid. I mean, majestic, wonderful, love them, not the brightest critters on the planet. And neither are entrepreneurs sometimes, right? Because we get led by our hearts.
Yeah.
And that's why having a coach is so incredibly important, because you have to have one that will knock you over the head with the brain part, because we did develop one up here. One of the reasons I love you guys is because I can go be having my flip out estrogen moment and Ariana's like, oh, I'm so there. That happens to me too. And then Tom's like, great, after you've had a nap, can we decide why you had the meltdown?
That's like you know us or something.
Yeah, maybe. Only because you're me.
Only because somehow both of us have found pieces of ourselves in you.
Yeah.
And I love that example because I'm sure some entrepreneurs will be offended because they were compared to a horse.
Horses are pretty cool.
But like we always use the GPS analogy. So where are you at now? Where do you want to go? Let's plot the course and then get you started. And, I love the fact that you talked about speed, because when a lot of people get caught in analysis paralysis, it's like, look, we don't have to start with the Cadillac. When we're getting you moving, like if you can just walk, you're good.
Yeah.
Right. And then as you get walking and, you're getting to a good point, then maybe we'll get you a bicycle. Right. So we'll upgrade you a little bit and you can go a little bit faster. But as you said, the thing we're always looking at is, are we going in the right direction? And the first thing is, if we're not, we're going to pivot.
Right.
But then if we are, and it's like, hey, if we want to go faster, all right, what do we got to do to go faster? And for entrepreneurs, that is, okay, let me look at my business. Let me look at my routines. Let me look at my processes. Let me look at my financials and say, where am I at? Where are things going? What do I want those to look like differently? And then what do I got to change in the rest of my business?
Yeah.
So like it all comes back to, really what you said. And it's so simple, but I think a lot of times we overcomplicate it and we get in our own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where, when you said, what are the 3 things? So the first one would really be separate those bank accounts. The second one is somehow get it summarized. If you're still at the crawling stage, Excel will work.
Yep.
If you can walk a little bit, get a QuickBooks Online app. If you can run and jog, get a bookkeeper to do it for you.
Yeah.
If you're really like not at all right-brained or left-brained, whatever brain it is that can do the number thing. I don't know. I have both brains, so we don't have to talk to me about which side of the brain. You go get a bookkeeper to do that for you so that you have the good numbers and you've pulled yourself out of denial so that you're looking at your business and you're using the information to empower yourself, not to scare yourself.
Yes.
And that's where so many people will go, well, the bottom line is bad. Okay, well, maybe the bottom line's not where we want, but did any number here go in the direction we want?
Yep.
We got the horse out there. Which way do we want him to go? Sales went up, but our bottom line went down. Okay, that's just an expense issue. Or maybe it was a big investment in the last month,
Yep.
and that investment will pay dividends. If the top line went down, like this year, my tax season revenue overall went up, but my revenue from existing clients went down. So you go, why would that happen? Aren't you supposed to raise your prices and stuff like that? Well, I fired 51 clients before tax season. I knew that part of my pie was going to go down because I was taking out the bottom layer, because that layer erodes my energy. That layer diverts my attention. That layer frustrates my staff. I end up giving my A+ clients B- service because I'm over here dealing with the F client who I just want to shut him up because he's got me so anxious. So fire the idiot. Better yet, sell him.
Mm-hmm.
I just got thousands of dollars this week for clients I sold to people that can't make their phone ring and need help. And for a lot of people, they don't think about that. So they're like, I can't get rid of an existing client. I need every client I can get. Now, sometimes I have a client, they come to me, my oh so charming personality isn't really right for everyone. Shocking.
What?
And we have to go through some tough love that gets them to a better place, but we've created a chasm in our relationship and it's not going to go forward well for either one of us. But they're a more coachable, more trainable, have more things in place. I can sell them to another accountant and he's getting not the problem client I got.
Yep.
And they can start on a clean slate. He's getting a better client. The client's getting a brand new start. He's getting a different perspective, but I'm not going to sell him to anybody. I only have 2 clients that I refer to, 2 accountants that I refer to. So you have to go, who's really a better match? I'm not the best hand holder. Like I said to Ariana, I didn't have children. I didn't want to be a mother.
I don't want to hold hands.
Right. I'm just not built that way. Not good for me. So if I have a client that needs a lot of that hand holding, I need to sell them or connect them or refer them to an accountant that's really nurturing and loves to do that. And so we had stop commingling your funds. Then we have get in touch with your numbers. Get on Excel, get on an app, get a bookkeeper, do what you have to do. And then the third one is get to a real tax pro. Mm-hmm. DIY is so expensive. Where there are $1,000 bills sitting on the trees, if you are doing it yourself, you just so lost money.
Yeah.
But then inside the tax world, my side of the office, we have namaste rocks and funky pictures and magazines, and I've got a whole wall over here of inspirational magnets.
We can see some of your vacation pictures behind you.
Yeah, I really like this one. This is my tax season mantra.
I was going to say, you probably look at that every day during tax season.
Oh my God.
Well,
but on the other side of my office, my husband is literally bald. Sorry, Tom.
Hey, I'm not offended.
Bald is
This is a
beautiful.
good thing. Yes. I need that shirt.
He's bald. He's over 50. He likes to put little numbers in little boxes. He likes to talk about what happened. He likes to feel very safe in that world. He is not creative. He is not as much a risk taker as I am. He does not like anything to do with a crystal ball. He is a great technical accountant. He is a crappy tax planner.
Well,
and this is why you both work so well together.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I just want to jump back and really emphasize that point, because I remember towards the end of last year when you were getting ready for tax season and we were having some of these calls about those clients. And so many people are afraid to, quote unquote, fire their bad clients. And, I remember when we were having those conversations and we were brainstorming, and it was like, oh, I instead of just firing them and losing that revenue, I could actually refer them to another account that would actually be a better fit for them. And I can actually make money while doing that.
Yeah.
So wait, let me get this straight. So I can get rid of my headaches. I can still make some money off of that. And I can free up a whole bunch of space to really work better with my ideal clients, as well as do some of these other projects I want to do. Sign me up. But
and
so important.
And I now have a better relationship with some of my local peers.
Yep.
Who really respect me because I sent them work and I gave them a heads up on how to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm not on as much of an island. And I have more resources. I mean, during tax season, I've got my little group of accountants, and I'm telling you, there must be 3 emails a day that go back and forth. That the headline of the email is question of the day. Like, well, I got a doozy here. Like, what do you think? Because people don't come, especially with their taxes, in a nice, neat little box. They have all kinds of crazy things that happen. And you can either just put the numbers in the boxes, you'll see my husband, or you can go, well, is there anything we can do with this number? Why don't we look at this side of the Rubik's Cube? And that's where you have to be willing to do that. But seriously, if you lined up, you went to a continuing ed event for CPAs, and there's 300 of them in the room, and you said, how many of you asked them, do tax planning? 80% of them would raise their hands. If you said, how many of you know 100 strategies to save taxes? 3 in the room would raise a hand. So tax planning isn't put money in your IRA,
Yeah.
Mhm.
fund your 529, and look at an entity analysis. Yes, those are 3 strategies. I have 120 some strategies that I use. And one of the things I was saying to Ariana last night, with tax reform. So tax reforms changed all kinds of things, right? Everybody's heard about how corporate taxes are going from 35% to 21%. And we're all like, great. GM and Coca-Cola just made out, what about me? Like, what about the little guy? So the oxymoron is there was a smart attorney in Congress somewhere that said, well, what about the little guy? And so they created this new thing called a qualified business income deduction. And this is going to be massive for small businesses, massive, especially if you're married and your taxable income, not total income, taxable income is under $315,000. You just got a 20% deduction, plus or minus some frills, of your business income. But depending on your entity choice, that may or may not be so crystal clear.
Mm.
So one of the tools that I'm going to start rolling out in the next month, I found this thing that helps me develop reasonable compensation for people that have an S corp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So for
for
business owners that are savvy enough to understand there's a way to save some self-employment taxes if they're in an S corp, you want to set your reasonable salary. That's the guidelines the government gives you. I mean, could it get more vague? Yeah, reasonable.
Yeah, exactly.
What the heck does that mean, right? That the lower that reasonable salary is, the more you save in self-employment taxes. So there's downward pressure on this. So we're already looking at the ceiling for invisible ink to come up with the reasonable salary number. And depending on how aggressive your business owner is and how risky your accountant is, that number can be anywhere from 20% of total income to 90% of total income.
Mm-hmm.
So back to QBI. Your qualified business income deduction will be bigger if your reasonable comp is lower. So we now have 2 reasons why we want to push that reasonable comp down. This means there are 2 big reasons that the government's going to lose money. The government might lose money. That's 2 big reasons why they're going to look at it.
Yep.
Right? Just like home office can be a big red flag because the numbers are like so made up. So what happens? The government looks at home office. Now we have 2 big reasons for this. We have to push it down. So I have found a tool that will actually help me do so many things for business owners. So what they have to do is they have to really allocate how they spend their time. Tom, do you think this could be helpful for a business coach?
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, right? So as a business owner,
Just turning silently
absolutely.
as you're talking.
We
Yeah,
got
there's
a
gonna
lot of
be-
stuff we got to talk about.
right. So, as a business owner, I fill up the teapot with water. I make sure there's paper towels around. I shampoo the carpets in the office once a year. I take out the trash when staff forgot to do it because staff does that sometimes. I have to research the new security system because we put a new security system in. I have to deal with IT. I have to do marketing. I have to do strategy. I have to be the CEO. Oh yeah, I'm the head technician. Oh my God. I ought to do that now and then. So this tool actually has you break up how you spend your time in like a bazillion categories. But now how you spend your time is only one thing. We're coming up with reasonable comp. So how proficient are you at how you spend your time? Are you low, below average, average, above average, or high proficiency? Because I'm going to spend a different amount of money on a highly proficient office manager than your 7-year-old kid. Although they might empty the trash more consistently.
That's true.
So now, how much do you pay that person? Because this is what we're going to rank our reasonable comp off. Okay, so do you live in Alabama or Manhattan? I bet the wage is different. So we have to take into consideration what state you live in. If you're in New York and you live where you live versus Manhattan, I bet it's different.
Yep.
So now we're going to look at what county you live in. And we're going to use this to come up with a reasonable comp number. So this helps me tax-wise. I have now, and it's completely proven against IRS audits, I can now have a real number to work on. I can now have safety walking into an IRS audit if this gets challenged. I now have something I can use for business valuation if I want to bring on a partner, if I want to leverage my business, if I want to sell my business. I have a reasonable comp number. And I've broken out how I'm spending my time that, let's say you did this the first of every year. Over the course of the last year, did you empty the trash more often, or have you finally delegated that very important task?
Uh-huh.
So I'm the tax strategist, right? Not a business coach. No. I can do other coaching. We have tough love around here too, but we do therapy in my office. We do lots of things in my office. But I don't hold myself out to be a business coach. But I can sit there with my client and over time look at how does that pie chart of usage change. You don't think this is like, you think looking at your P&L and where's your money going is important? Yeah, what's the one thing we can never replace?
Yeah.
That would be our time. So I bring a tool like that to the table that gives us great security and peace of mind against the IRS audit, because taxpayers generally come into me if they're brave enough to even get here, right? Because they got to overcome their fear. The next thing I hear is, I don't want to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be in trouble. Whatever trouble means, that you tell your kids, you're in trouble. Like, it's so vague, but that's a scary, scary word. And we're afraid of being in trouble with the government. So this is a thing that I can roll out that helps people go, I'm not in trouble. I'm not in trouble. And it gives me a really good number to be able to justify where should I be with my self-employment taxes, with this new QBI. But then we have all these other layers. And that's what people don't understand is the difference between a tax accountant and a strategist is I'm not just trying to get a number to put in a box about last year, because I really don't care. So don't care. I'm trying to go, how do we use this to tell my horse which way he's going? How fast are we going? What do we need to look at? And along the way, if we can like pick some $1,000 bills off the trees and I can have some more vacation posters, I'm not seeing who's losing here.
Win-win. I love it.
I was going to say, I'm not even sure where to start with that. I'm going to have to like kind of absorb some of that because there's so many good things there. First off, I've always wondered why nobody created something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, as entrepreneurs, whenever there's a challenge or an opportunity, that's an opportunity for us to be able to create something. So that is such a powerful tool. And then what I love too is the way that you describe the strategist. Because when we go to hire people or figure out who we're going to work with in our business, we can get somebody that's maybe done it or can maybe take care of some of this stuff. But to really have somebody that can partner with you to look ahead and put some of that together, I mean, even like you said, as the entrepreneur, your time is the most valuable. And far too often, we don't realize that. But having somebody from the outside that's looking at that, and then especially because this ties it all in, I mean, just there's so much value there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have these systems. I have implementation guides for my most popular strategies. So somebody comes in, I go, okay, we're starting with 2.
Yeah.
Because people hit like deer in the headlight overload with that 3-letter word tax really easy.
Yeah.
So we start with 2. We get them implemented. We build the habits. Gee, does this sound like a coaching call? We build the habits. But they need to know to the extent that I don't want to be a mother, but I don't like repeating things 15 times either. Here's our implementation guide. Do this, do this, do this. You have to report back to me, like your butt's going to be in my office or on a Zoom call in 2 weeks, because the deadline is everything. We're back to my 30-minute clock, right? Nothing happens until the last 20 minutes anyway. So,
yeah.
You know, then, okay, you got that done. Great. Now we're going to go do this. Now we're going to go do this. Now we're going to go do this. And then we get to quarterly meetings, and then we get to semi-annual meetings. And depending on the size of the business and how much it's growing or changing, I really think if you're meeting with your strategist more than, sometimes I'll meet with somebody once a month in the very beginning if we really need to keep going. They got lost in the forest. No, you are looking for oak trees. Stop picking up pine needles. I need you to look for oak trees, acorns. You know, you got to keep redirecting them. But then quarterly is what I think is ideal.
Yep.
But a lot of times life just doesn't work that way. But semi-annual is like essential.
Yeah.
So that we can really go, have you done it? If you need to pick up the pieces and recreate, let's get it done. Let's revisit why this is important. Let's reinvigorate your inspiration. Let's drive home. There's money on the sidewalk here. You're missing it. But you have to have the implementation guides because people are afraid of the whole topic because it's so unknown and it's so scary and it's so convoluted and who the heck can read this nonsense? But if so long as they know the next step.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go do this. But if I do that, what's she going to make me do next? So you got to let them know one more step. It's kind of like you're driving from New York to LA. You leave at 8 p.m. You cannot see the entire road. You only see where the headlights go. That's okay. You only need to see that far. This is a lot like that. They don't always need to see. Now, some people are high fact finders and they need to see the whole thing. Then I go, well, here's your whole implementation guide. You can see the whole damn road. But we're still going to do one step at a time and know you're not allowed to skip.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing that I did was I'm expensive, right? I'm not cheap. I'm good at what I do. I'm not cheap. Moment I'm $240 an hour to come be with me. People choke over that amount of money to get blah, blah, blah at. So I created this little online course that is Welcome to the World of Being Self-Employed.
Mm-hmm.
That costs less than 1 hour in my charming presence, but gives you 4 hours of all the foundational knowledge with this great big 100-page, I call it the study book, so that you can capture, well, what about me in this way? This is my specific question. So that then when they come in and they're paying me my strategy rate per hour, we can strategize.
Yeah.
I'm not defining terms. I'm not explaining the difference between a sole proprietor and a single member LLC. Like, they may have a specific question, but at that point, they've already identified some of that, so that we can make the conversation personal to them, and they can leave with an amount of information they can digest.
Yep.
If somebody comes in for an hour and a half, my 90-minute, like, welcome to the world talk, it is fire hose. I mean, by the time they hit the front door of my office, 50% of it's gone.
Yep.
When they tried explaining to their spouse that night, they realized they kind of got 25%. And by the next morning, they can only articulate 10%, because they're not going to come back every week.
Yeah.
So I make note, but so I finally went, okay, I have to develop a resource that's less than $200 and is affordable for them to be able to go, how do I get this in my head from an accountant, not from the water cooler?
Yeah.
From somebody that's, arm deep in taxes, in tax season, not from the person that does bookkeeping and files 10 tax returns for their friends and family. Like, there's different levels of this.
Yeah.
And you want to get to the highest level that is pertinent for where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love that.
Not the highest level.
Yeah.
The highest level pertinent to where you are. So if you're just starting out, you started your business on November 1st, and you've had one $500 sale, you probably don't need me. But if you started your business on November 1st and you brought in $20,000 and you think that you're going to make $100,000 the next year, we got $5,000 bills on the tree outside that TurboTax does not see.
Yep.
But you have to have this foundation of knowledge. What does the knowledge do? Gives you confidence. What does confidence do for an entrepreneur? Only everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I feel like we could talk probably for hours upon hours, but this is a good point to ask you, Christi, where can people find you? Where can they find out more about what you do so that they can get the knowledge?
So I'm revamping the website right now. That ought to be up and revamped in about, it's probably going to be 30 to 45 days. They can find the old one and contact me there. Google Christi Bender CPA. The website's christibendercpa.com. I have 2 Facebook pages, personal and business. The personal one is way more fun.
We see vacation pictures.
There's vacation pictures. There's a lot of insightful things there. There's a lot of motivational things there. That's where I kind of step out of the little CPA box and you get attitude. The CPA one, so that's Christi Bender CPA in Facebook. If you go to C Bender CPA, that's my business Facebook page. That I put informational stuff that's new with tax up there probably 4 times a week. There's little videos. There's short articles. It is written in plain English. You will be able to understand it. There is like very, very rarely quoted a section number. I don't like section numbers. I'm on Instagram. There's some stuff on Instagram. Again, Christi Bender CPA. I'm really not very creative in the whole naming convention thing.
That's good.
It's all right. And we will put links to everything Christi just mentioned in the show notes page, which is tomandariana.com/30. All right. It has been an awesome, awesome episode today with Tom and Ariana, your lifestyle builders and hosts of the Lifestyle Builders Show. Christi, huge thank you for coming on. Great time. You always bring all the wisdom and the awesome analogies and quotes.
Yeah, awesome. I want to inspire people to, you know, pick up the reins of their financial life, because they can direct it where they want it, but you got to be willing to get on the horse and ride it. I love it.
Beautiful. And obviously, if you guys listen to this episode, Christi is full of knowledge, and you know she can help you guys out a lot. So I would definitely recommend seeking her out. And with that, as always, it's your life, your business, your way. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Are you frustrated by a lack of momentum in your business? Do you want real-time guidance and support from seasoned entrepreneurs who really care about your results? If you're nodding your head or awkwardly shouting yes in public somewhere, then we invite you to join Lifestyle Builders, a mentorship program designed to meet you where you are and give you strategic and custom guidance so you can build the business you need for the life you crave. You can find out more at joinlifestylebuilders.com.
Your life, your business, your way. Join Family Entrepreneur Life. Join Family Entrepreneur